up.
Pictures up.
Pictures up. And roll sound. Rolling.
Rolling.
Sound speed.
Camera speed. Awesome. Take two. Mark.
And action.
Hi there, and welcome into Meet Me in the Movies Open Dialogue. This is Thomas Manning, and today I'm sharing with you my conversation with some of the cast and crew of the new film Skincare. This is from IFC Films, and I'm speaking with director Austin Peters and actor Luis Gerardo Méndez. And this film also stars Elizabeth Banks and Lewis Pullman. Austin Peters himself has described this film as a sunshine noir. So really enjoyed talking with him about some of the filmmaking and Luis Gerardo Méndez about some of just this wild world that is explored in this film. So I appreciate all of you watching and listening, and hope you enjoy as we speak with the cast and crew of Skincare. Thanks so much. Well, Luis, it's great to meet you. I appreciate your time. And right off the bat, I'm curious if you had any previous experience with the fashion world that we see in this film. Was that anything that you had any familiarity with, or was this new territory for you?
Oh my God, no. Like I've been an actor for 20 years, so I have a lot of friends that are actresses or actors, and I've seen crazy shit, Thomas. Like the things sometimes people do to stay to look the same that they did 20 years ago. It's just wild and crazy. And I work with people around me, and I've seen that, and I know this guy. Like when I read the script, I was like, I know exactly how this angel guy should look like. Um, I called Austin Peter, the director, like a month before start shooting, and I told him like, "Hey, man, I think I should go blonde for this." And he was like, "Oh, I love that, but why?" And I was like, "I have no idea, but it's just something that I know." And then he was like, "Okay, do it." And the minute I came to set and I saw Elizabeth Banks, we had the exact same color in the hair, and that makes everything more irritating for her character. And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess it was somewhere around that universe, but like some crazy intuitions that you have just for being in this world for so long."
And so, from your perspective as an actor, what are some things you noticed about the filmmaking voice of Austin Peters as a director that made him exactly the right guy to bring this project into fruition?
I think what I really liked about Austin was that he he really knows he really knows Los Angeles. Like he really understands the culture here. And he had like a very specific um, universe he wants to talk about. And when you do a movie like this, when you do a thriller like Skincare, you need to be very precise with like you need to make audience doubt the whole time. And I feel like Skincare is like a love letter to Los Angeles, to the characters that we find here, but at the same time, it points very precisely on the flaws of this culture. Like how this culture is like constantly asking you for to stay relevant, to stay young, to stay healthy, to be successful, to be this and this and that, and it's just exhausting. And for me, this movie is about how do you find a balance between your ambitions and your mental health, which I think is a huge thing to talk about right now. And how these new waves are always coming, like Elizabeth Banks' character is so appealing because we can feel for her, because like she's now facing this NASA technology for the skincare when she has like her own little moisturizer, like, so what the fuck is this NASA technology that this guy has? So like it's like the way I feel right now with intelligent AI or chat GPT or all these things. Like I'm like, how is this going to change my job? How is this going to change the world we live in? I don't know. And I feel that same thing that Hope's character is feeling, like, how am I going to stay relevant in this new world? So I think that's one of the reasons that the movie is so powerful, and it gives you so much anxiety to be in her shoes, no?
And I have to say, you have a pretty awesome karaoke scene in this movie. Can you take me back to when you first heard that this song choice is what you were going to be performing. Talk a little bit about that day on set and what you remember about that experience.
That was for me. That was the reason I said yes to doing this movie. Because when I read the script, I was like, oh, okay, this scene is so good because we're gonna be able to see who this guy really is, because apparently he's very successful and he has everything figured out and he's on television and he's doing okay. But we're gonna see that he's actually kind of broken too, like he probably wanted to be a singer or he wanted to be a dancer and he couldn't make it in LA. So he ended up working in the skincare universe. So, that's also very LA, very easy to relate with. And yeah, that scene was very important for me and for Austin because it was like a window to the soul of this guy in a way.
Yeah. So what is your karaoke song of choice if it was just you?
I have a couple of them. Piano Man. I fucking kill that song every time. But I have to say that I love the Spanish version of it. We have a Spanish version of Piano Man that every time I start singing that song, my American friends are like, "What? Why do you know the lyrics in Spanish?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And it's actually really good. And I have to say that I'm a karaoke freak myself, so I really enjoy being able to sing in front of the camera.
Well, no, we've got to wrap things up here, but I want to thank you again, Luis, for your time today. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and I hope we get to do it again sometime.
Thank you, Thomas. Have a great day.
Hey, Austin, it's great to meet you. I really appreciate your time today. Excited to get right into it, talking about skincare. Definitely want to talk about the opening credits sequence to this film. I really loved going in with that intense needle drop after such a quiet opening. Can you talk a little bit about crafting that sequence and kind of playing around with those audience expectations in that moment?
That I'm glad that sequence worked for you because that was something that I sort of had in my head before we even shot the film. I sort of knew that that's how I wanted to do the opening credits sequence, and I think it was about sort of setting up the world of the film in an unexpected way and in a way that sort of gestured to how hardcore the whole thing was and how intense this pursuit, which feels very soft and very feminine, and the fact that it's that's to think of it only in that way would be a vast underestimation. So I kind of wanted to bring the audience into the world that set up that character in that way, that this song was sunk with who this woman was.
And I know that finding a way to shoot LA in a different kind of way than what we traditionally see on film was very important for you here. I think you kind of described it as shooting LA from the inside out. Can you talk about some of those discussions with your director of photography and finding creative ways to visualize LA, and that made it something that wasn't just a carbon copy of other ways that we've seen LA photographed previously?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Chris Ripley is the DP, and he is a genius and a mad scientist, and we talked extensively about what is the way that this movie looks, what is the way that if you're flipping through the channels and you see Elizabeth Banks looking beautiful and glamorous in a 2013 skincare studio of, what is the way that even in that image you still understand what this movie is, and so we looked at a lot of things that had been successful before in LA, and a lot of images that we really loved that weren't from LA. So we looked at, a photo book by Philip Lorca de Corsia called Hustlers, which was about all these sort of hustlers on Santa Monica Boulevard, like in the 90s. And we looked at the Todd Haynes movie Safe, and we looked at, but then we also, which are super LA, but then we also looked at, the Wim Wenders movie, The American Friend, which is in Berlin and not doesn't look anything like LA. And we looked at, I'm trying to think what was one of the other things that were making us, that we were really excited about at the time. Oh, the work of an English filmmaker called Alan Clark, who made these movies for the BBC, and he had these long Steadicam takes with people, and it was always like very punk and very brutal, and sort of being like, how do we capture that same energy but put it into the world of skincare and beauty?
And also in this film, there's many uses of mirrors in a lot of the shots you're working with. Does that complicate things? Does that add just another layer of challenge to the cinematography?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a mirror in our main set, which was hard. But when Liz, our production designer, set it up, we sort of all decided that it looked too good and we would just have to deal with it, like, so that was sort of it. And then it became part of the language of the movie, was that the mirrors were always, she was always checking herself out in the mirror, or in the beginning, there's sort of the three hopes where she's in one mirror, she's her back, and then the three versions, and it sort of was all, it sort of just folded into the movie and the theme and the scene so well that we really just tried to put our arms around it.
And Lewis Pullman, I was just blown away by him in this movie. I haven't really seen him in a role like that before, but his line readings, his rapid fire dialogue, that really impressed me. So, from your perspective as a director, what was it about his skill set as an actor that made him the right guy for the job in this role?
I mean, Lewis just works so hard. First of all, Lewis is a movie star. That's the thing that, I feel lucky to be on an early wave of, is that Lewis is so incredible to watch, and he's so gripping, and and I've been so happy with people's reaction to his performance, because I think it's amazing, and I think he is so amazing. Um, but I had seen Lewis in my friend's movie that's coming out in October called The Line, and I thought he was amazing. And I met with him, and Jonathan, my producer, and Logan, my producer, had worked with him before, and they loved him. And the second we started talking about it, he was just going so deep into it and sharing references with me and asking me for everything, every movie, every photo, like looking at these photos from Hustlers and looking at these, it's just taking ideas from such interesting places and bringing me stuff that I had never considered, and then sending me earrings and, various piercings and whatever, of how he thought Jordan would dress and what he thought Jordan's voice should sound like and how she should talk, and sending me videos that he would record on his phone while he was shooting out a range of sort of self-help stuff when he was back in his hotel room or whatever. And I just felt like, I think that all of that work that he did in that prep, I think it shows up on screen. And I think that you feel it when you are spending time with Jordan in the movie.
And there's a particular scene I definitely want to talk about. It's the karaoke scene involving the character of Angel. I actually spoke to Luis just a few minutes ago about it, and he said that was basically the scene where he was like, okay, I have to take part in this film. At what point in the writing process that did you figure out that that's where you kind of wanted to reveal this about the character of Angel?
Interestingly enough, I think that scene, that scene moved around in the sequence of events a number of times. This is basically more or less where it was in the script, but I think that scene may have been in the earliest draft before I even got involved in it, that was given to me, where there was always this feeling of just the perspective shifting and of understanding this guy in a different way, and the peeling off another layer to who he is and what he's going through. And so that was sort of the goal, I think, always. And then we arrived at the song that is now the Cure song, and the song, it's different from the original one, but the emotion is still the same. Louis still brought the same kind of depth to it in a way that I'm kind of even more excited about, because at first you maybe can't read what's going on or where his head's at, but then by the end you definitely are thinking, oh wow, look at this guy is like going through it.
And I know you have a background in directing music videos. So how does that DNA make its way into your narrative filmmaking? Do you notice any sort of connection there, any through lines?
I think I just love music, you know, and I think that music is just a huge inspiration for me creatively, and so that's what brought me to music videos, and it was something that I was easier for me to get a chance to do, you know, for a much smaller price point, you know, than a feature film. But I think it's all, I think those things are certainly in conversation. It's I cut my teeth doing that, and you know, I started doing music videos because I wanted to direct movies. You know, that's why I started. That's what drove me there, and so I think those things are definitely in conversation for sure.
And I really love the score here from Fatima. It just has such a unique sound and it's crucial to the tone of the film. Can you talk a little bit about that collaboration and bringing her music and blending that with your vision as a storyteller here?
She, I think, is such a tremendous talent, and you know, I first heard her music. I may have actually heard her music even before that, but I first heard her film scoring work when I watched Atlantics, which was Matty Diop's movie from 2019. And I thought, oh my God, this music is amazing. I loved the whole movie, but I thought this music is amazing. I would love to work with this person on skincare. And wouldn't it be interesting to see what they brought to this world, you know? And so I reached out to her and we met and she watched the movie and we started working and it was one of the last stages of this process of we had been picture locked and she was kind of making music and sending me demos, you know, multiple demos every single day as we were just trying to blow through it. And then she went back and it was you know, I love the music that she did and I love the way that it sort of starts in this much more delicate sort of emotional way, and there's so much harp in it, and so much the harp is sort of the sound of Hope's mind, and then the way that when the movie inverts, it sort of the music sort of becomes like this weird demented like club music, you know, or like that is like soundtracking her descent into it. And, you know, there's so much use of trance pad, you know, throughout and that sort of using trance pad and harp and her reference points for music was so exciting for me in this process. And I think she just elevated the whole thing so much. So I'm glad you liked it.
Well, Austin, it's been great chatting with you today. I appreciate your time. Thanks for everything you shared. Congrats on the film, and hopefully we share more conversations in the future.
I hope so. So nice to talk to you. Have a good one,
Have a good
Thomas.
one. You too.
All right, guys, pictures up.
Pictures up.
Pictures up. Let's roll sound. Rolling.
Rolling.
Sound speed.
Camera speed. Awesome. Take two.
And action.